What's up, everyone? I'm going to show a little trick I do. I got a bunch of these swim baits, paddle tail swim baits, a whole bunch of them, and they're in a color that, I mean, it may do okay in our waters, but I don't know. I don't really like the color that well. I've never had anything that light that's really going to do anything. The bottom half doesn't look too drastically bad. It's got a little black fleck in it and some silver and looks like almost a violet color. But being that light, it's not going to be a great lure for around here. I make them look like that. A lot more usable. And you can, I don't know if you can see that, but the blue even kind of blends down into it as the light hits it. It changes that lighter color at the bottom blue. I'm going to show how I do that. All I do is get me a paintbrush, just a little hobby paintbrush, okay, and some Spike It. I use the heck out of Spike It products. I love them. This is unscented. I don't like to use the scented stuff very often with Spike It. I do have some of the chartreuse in crawfish, and I even have some chartreuse somewhere, I don't know where it is right now, in garlic. I use garlic a lot. Sometimes I like the crawfish the best though for bass fishing. I do really like the crawfish the most, but the unscented are my favorite, because if I'm just wanting to add color to something and I don't want to put a bunch of scents into it per se, I go for that. So I give it a little shake. Drop that off that lid. All I'm going to do here, so simple. I'm going to grab one of my baits, and since the bottom's what's always lighter, and that's what I want to see through, I'm just going to paint my blue, or whatever color you want to use. They've got all kinds of colors in Spike It. You can use whatever you really want. Me, we use blue and black a lot in our river and in our backwaters here, and in most of our lakes too. Black and blue works pretty well, so that's why I get it in blue a lot. And I'm just going to paint the whole top half of this thing until she's a nice shade of blue. And the neat stuff about this Spike It is, once it dries, you can actually go back over it again and give it another coating. It does bleed a little bit, but I mean it's pretty much a permanent. It changes the bait permanently to that color. So once you do that, you are pretty much guaranteed to have a different colored bait. But I mean, there we're halfway done, and we're already changing that bait by quite a bit. You know, you can stop wherever you want. I like to finish the whole, I like to do the whole back, get the whole back about halfway down. There's a split line on these where you can tell where the mold came together. That's my break point. That's where I like to keep a gist. I get enough of it off of the brush that it doesn't want to run past that as I'm painting it on. So that's my break line. So the top half will be blue. It stops at that break line. I mean, that's actually causing it, because of the color that these particular ones are, it's actually turning it into almost a greenish back. That one's done. I'm going to go back to this one that I already did. I'm going to put another coat on it so I can show you how dark you can start getting that blue if you really want to. It's totally up to you and what you're trying to do. You know, I like to, depending on the coloring of it and what I'm trying to cover, I like to go over it a second time usually, just to really ensure that I'm giving it the coloring that I want. But yeah, that darkened this up a lot. I think I'll stop at the halfway mark because I can show you guys the difference between the top and the bottom now. It's considerably different. And you can tell it's kind of turned it from that totally white creamish color to, I mean, it's got tints of blue and green and all kinds of different coloring in it. So it really darkens it up, and it's a color that works really well in all of our lakes around here. Can't go wrong with that blue and black fleck. Any of those kind of colors in our waters are pretty much go-tos for a lot of people. Just what works, you know. But we've almost got this guy looking a lot better, and I kind of leave it to where it kind of tears out at the back, kind of fades out into the, but yeah, that one's done. So now you can take a comparison and see the difference between the one we did just now and the one I did before. And there's a green hue to this one that's only got one coat on it, so it looks more like baby bass to the one with the darker blue now that definitely has taken on a totally different hue to it. So yeah, that's my tip for things that you get that you don't like the color of, or that just ain't gonna work. Just grab yourself some Spike It. Spike It comes in all kinds of colors, and if you've got a darker color that isn't gonna work real well, I mean, Spike It in the darker colors. Even that blue, I mean, that blue is getting really dark on that one. I mean, I can see that blue. That's changed that lure. Depending on how the light hits it, that blue shines all the way through and turns that whole thing blue. I mean, it's really... But this guy, he turns kind of a green. It's pretty interesting what you can do with that. So I bought these things bulk. I got tons of these things in this color. I'll probably leave some of them just to see what they'll do. You know, some of them are a little bit of a pearly color. They don't have so much of that weird green in the center. It's almost like they're blems or something. See, this one's got some of the green in the tail. That one's got green in the center. It's almost like they're blems. It's probably what I got them from. I've had them for so long I don't really remember what they were and why I got them. And there's even these weird lines in them in places where it looks like they just didn't mold quite correctly. But they work. They swim great, and the tails work great on them, so I bought them. Bought a big bulk patch of these, and then I just changed them from that into these. You know, there's 3 different samples. You know, grab those by the tail and show up a little there. Yeah, 3 different samples of what you can do with those. So don't you know, give up on lures because they don't work. You know, you bought a bad color, a bum color, or something like that. Don't rule them out yet. Because Spike It, great company. They've got reds, yellows, blues, browns. I mean, really, pretty much, they've got all kinds of colors. And they even have they've got little like paint sticks that are like almost like a Sharpie that you can use to change colors of stuff. Spike is just a great company for coloring things. And even those little ones that are the ones that come on the pen, like a Sharpie, those even have the scents in them if you want it. You can get them in scented, unscented. I prefer the unscented, especially in the pen style ones. They just do a real good job. They only work on soft rubber, on the soft plastics, because they're eating into the plastic and dyeing the plastic a new color. So it ain't like you can use those to paint onto a hard bait, like a crankbait or something. You would have to still stick to your Sharpies and stuff to put a little detail into those. But yeah, Spike It, guys. It's great stuff. And they do have tons and tons and tons of coloring. So check them out. And unscented, scented, you know, garlic, crawdad. They've got shad, I think. There's probably about 4 or 5 different scents that you can get. I particularly like the unscented for what I'm doing, where you're just going to paint these things up and store them. You know, I really do prefer to go unscented, but when it comes to bass fishing, I do use the crawfish every now and then. So, and it's in chartreuse is mainly what I get the crawdad in, and I'm usually just dipping that on the end of my finesse worms. So a little bit of scent on the end of a finesse worm on those days when it's picky, when the fish are being picky and not really wanting to commit, kind of gives me a little bit of an advantage. I see the advantage. I feel there's an advantage using the scented. But for the most part, for just coloring baits like this and letting them dry so that they don't bleed onto your hand and stuff, I mean, yeah, get the unscented. But do what you want, you know. It's your guys' baits, do what you want, but I do like the unscented for that purpose. But yeah, that's going to take all these baits here and turn them into something great that I can use, you know. I mean, some of these you can see they've got the flake that went all the way to the end. Some of them have hardly any flake and flake that barely made it to the end. Some have flake in the tails, some don't. That guy doesn't even look like the tail's centered, but no, I guess it is. Yeah, I think they're blems, but they swim great. I've tried a handful of them in the water and they all swim great. So that's all that matters. And if they don't, these blems, you can find blems at a lot of places pretty cheap. And if you're into making lures like I am and they don't swim right, melt them down. Melt them down and make them into something totally new. You know, take these swim baits, make them into a worm. Whatever, you know, you can put some coloring in them then once you're melting them down, change them to whatever you want. But yeah, don't rule out blems, and always keep the spigot around so that you can color them to what you want. But that's my tip for kind of getting some baits ready. I decided to work on some baits. It's been in the negative temperatures today, so I needed something to do fishing wise, so getting some baits ready for the upcoming tournament season, which will be here in March. So with no further ado, I'm gonna let you guys go, but check it out, guys. Spike it, man. Good stuff. We'll talk to you guys soon.